Welcome to the 1457 podcast from Scotland, where golf began, a digital platform where we want to inspire golfers near and far with our great photography, short films, stories, and of course our podcasts. We want you, the listener, to come to Scotland and play the fine courses we talk about. You'll find all you need to know about how to play, stay, eat and travel around Scotland where golf began. You'll find us at scotlandwheregolfbegan.com and social Where Golf Began, Facebook, Scotland Where Golf Began. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're a very, very special guest today with us, Mr. Martin Dempster, a Scot, one of golf's top journalists for 30-odd years, who has recently written a fantastic book, The Art of Scottish Golf, Where It All Began. But first, the panel. Co-pilot Fife's finest, Dave Kerr, Fairways to Heaven. Hello, Dave. What's new with you?
Hello. Well, wintering well, Malcolm. Clubs are taking a break at the moment, but it's a good...
Played yesterday, I thought.
Well, taking a break today, then. So it's a good time to crack out a good book, right?
Good. Absolutely. And returning as co-pilot today, Chief Engineer Ross Flanagan, who's doing all the pressing of the buttons and recording. Martin, you may well have seen Ross running around opens with his cameras and so on and so forth. A little bit of a jambo. That's Hearts for foreign listeners. Hello, Ross. How are you going?
Welcome, Dave, Martin. Great to see you all. Thanks for having me back. I knew that we were going to get Martin in a great mood today because, you know, we're just off a win in the bottom of the table derby yesterday. So it's good to be here. Martin, great to see you.
I keep telling him not to date stamp these things, but he's so happy, bloody Dambos. I mean, really?
Well, I was warned off the football chat early doors, and but you know, like it was a legitimate win yesterday. So happy to see you, both of us smiling. Thank you very much.
Well, that gives me a little plug for the 1457 Society, because 1457 is when golf was first noted or written down by James II, when he banned the wee ball and the big ball. But just a little reminder, Roscoe, we're talking about the wee ball today, but you know, you talk about the big ball when you want, because I'm sure Martin will as well.
That's why I'm here.
Martin, delighted to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
And you recently released a new book, and we'll come to that in a bit. 30 years in golf journalism, Evening News, Scotsman, Scotland on Sunday, covering everything from the Dispatched, the Evening News Dispatch Trophy on the Braid Hills, there's a wonderful little golf course in the Braid Hills, to the Open, the Masters, and the Scottish Open, back in home soil with the great Scottish winner. But it all started in Eyemouth, apparently, and I remember Aberdare. For anyone listening who has had the pleasure of reading your articles over the years, Martin, tell us a bit about yourself, your journey into sport, and especially golf journalism.
Yeah, I was actually down at Eyemouth yesterday, not playing, thankfully. I mean, it was blowing a gale, and there were some guys out there yesterday, and it was like, oh my God, what are they doing out there? It was like it was just unbelievable. But I was out actually down, take my mum out for a Christmas lunch at Eyemouth. Great spot to play golf. It's a wee 9-hole course when I played it as a boy. Loved it. It's now an 18-hole golf course. It's a really, really good golf course, and I would certainly recommend a visit there for anyone who's in that neck of the woods.
Used to be in Scotland, of course.
Pardon?
Used to be in Scotland, that area. Border moved around a wee bit.
Very much in Scotland. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, that's where I grew up. I grew up in a village called Coldingham, near Eyemouth, and my dad and his mates, they played golf at Eyemouth and Dunbar, and I used to tag along. And just great memories. They used to go up to Dunbar, East Links on a Sunday morning. There was about a dozen of them, and they threw the balls up and out they went, and we spent an hour in the clubhouse afterwards. It was just magical time for me, and I just loved, you know, from an early age. I remember, you know, one Christmas day getting my first set of golf clubs, and you know, needless to say, my dad had me out in the golf course for a few holes before we had Christmas lunch, and that's where it all started for me. From the golf point of view, journalism point of view, I was my first journalism job was with the Tweeddale Press Group, which was a group that was based in the Scottish borders, Northumberland as well, and I was just a general reporter on the Annick Advertiser was the first one, and then the Berwickshire News, and that involved everything court cases, council meetings, sheep shows, flower shows, everything. And it was just a wonderful apprenticeship. And I would do that over again because it just gave me so many good values that I still cherish to this day. And it's been an exciting journey since then.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you said, I think in the book somewhere, and we'll get on the book in a second, is golf taught you those kind of values. How do you think golf does teach values in modern society?
Yeah, I just think spending time with adults, quality time with adults. I think the world has changed so much with new technology, and kids spend time on phones and games and stuff like that. I mean, back then, we didn't know any different, but just being around adults was something that just taught you good things in life, taught you some bad things in life as well, I suppose, at certain times. But yeah, overall, I think that was set me up for life. Just being out on a golf course, the exercise part of golf is fantastic, obviously, but I think kids today, unfortunately, miss out on a lot of the things that we were lucky to have back in the day.
I saw a post last night, I think it was from John Huggan, and a picture of people inspired me into golf and all the famous golfers, and he said, I don't see my dad there. So you think that's a particularly Scottish thing, that dads get their kids into golf, or do you think that's across the world, or is it?
Well, I think it definitely is the case, or was the case in Scotland, there's no doubt about that, and probably can still be the case. I think we're lucky in that respect. I certainly, I used to go, my dad was involved in amateur football as well in the Borders in Northumberland. I used to go to, with him, tagged along with him, and I think that just is something that you value for the rest of your life. Hopefully kids still feel that way, but I think the world has changed quite a bit, and in my opinion, not for the better in a lot of cases, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would echo that. So, Martin, the book, what was the thinking behind the book? We got it here, and I need to get it read, and got Mr. Donnelly hopefully coming on podcast in due course. So it's I think you're the first two books I've read for about 20 years. So congratulations. My father would be very proud of you making that dyslexia and read something. But really enjoyed it, and actually enjoyed getting back into reading, to be honest, which is nice, something that maybe do now I've got a bit more time. But what was your inspiration for coming onto the book?
Well, it was the publishers approached me actually just about this time last year. Black and White Publishing, an Edinburgh-based company, got in touch. They'd obviously spoken to a few people in the game and had an idea for a book, and got in touch with me. And my first reaction was, I've not got time to do it. I think, as you know, I'm quite busy with my day job. I don't do that half-hearted. There's a lot going on in Scottish golf. There's a lot going on in golf, obviously, but Scottish golf, I like to get as many stories out there as possible on Scottish golfers and what's going on. So my initial thought was, I just haven't got the time to do this. And but I then spoke to the publishers, and they'd said, come up with they had the idea, it was there. They've got a series that are off, and this was a sort of their idea to do it on golf. And I liked the style of the book. The previous ones they'd done, it was a really nice looking book. And then they said, could you come up with a chapter plan? And once I sat down with that, I sort of came up with a chapter plan. I said to my wife, this might be my one and only time. This is my first book. It could be the one and only time I got the chance to do it. And once I committed to it, it didn't take me as long as some people might think it did. I started it in, I think it was January, and it was finished by the end of June. But I actually had it finished mostly before that. And it worked in well. The way the golf schedule is now, the first half of the year, from a British golf writer's point of view, for me, I was in Dubai at the early part of the year. I was at the Players' Championship, the Masters. But other than that, everything else is in the second half of the year. From the Scottish Open onwards, is just mad. So having to have it finished by the end of June worked really well for me. And I must say that the people I contacted, the players, the administrators, were absolutely fantastic. As soon as I got in touch and said, listen, I'm going to write this book, can you help? Every single person gave me everything I needed and more. And at the end of the day, it's about the people involved in the Scottish game, the book, and hopefully it's going down well. I certainly enjoyed doing it, and I'm very thankful that I got that opportunity.
It's a real who's who, isn't it, of Scottish golf over the last 20 odd years that you've got in there in terms of contributors. You really have ticked a lot of boxes here in terms of, as you say, everyone through from caddies through to professionals to amateurs to people that work in the administration of the game. It's really comprehensive in terms of who you've contributed to this book.
Yeah, I think that's when you actually get to a point that you're doing that, you then realise the contacts you've made in your career. I like to think I've got on with most people I've dealt with over the years. I like to think 99.9% people.
Oh, it's got you really, really difficult, man.
There's always a dodgy sort of guy who drives around in the neighbourhood pub in a buggy with a beard. I don't know who that is. But yeah, really, that was fantastic. From Paul Laurie, Katrina Matthew, Monty, Stephen Gallagher, Bob McIntyre, and as you say, Dave, all the way down to the caddies. And I had some great contacts and people like David Scott at Dumbarton. I've known David for a long time. He really got people involved. The guys up at St Andrews Links, David Connor, who's the communications guy there now, they were great. So, but once I sat down and started it, it actually came probably a lot easier than maybe even I thought, because I did have a plan of how I was going to do it, and I think what I like about it is it does cover, and I'm sure I've missed someone out that maybe should have been in it, but I feel it does cover the whole spectrum of the Scottish game, and as you guys know, I mean, some of these clubhouses we have in Scotland that are golf museums. They're just fantastic places to go in and spend time. Now, the golf courses are the thing that people are there to play, but we're so lucky to walk into these golf clubhouses and see the history in front of you.
The two guys you named there, coming across from Visit Scotland, Dave Connor, it's been a great move for him, that I think, and what a great breath of fresh air he is. And Dave at Dumbarton, he's one of the icons of Scottish golf, that little team that started at my brain's going away today, at where's Hoggy? Kings Barnes, and they've kind of moved, and now they're going across. But the contacts Major were talking about, and we were taught very much as young baby Roman officers, you set out life to be liked, you'll fail. If you set out life to be respected, you'll get a chance. But I mean, I think one of the reasons you managed to make all those contacts, you are liked, but it's more importantly, you're incredibly respected throughout the game. You're always very quiet. It's always about everybody else. So I think you've very much earned that. And for me, I say it's my first book as a dyslexic duck, and I say that jokingly, flippantly, but actually it was an easy read, and it kind of made you want to get back. The other thing I quite like, you could go from one chapter to another chapter, not necessarily all the way through that you would do in a kind of story, but I really like that.
Yeah, sure.
But in editing, in writing it, if you're writing a golf piece in a magazine, in newspapers, you tend to edit from front back to front. You write it in the first and then edit backwards. So what's the difference? How did you find it different from writing the newspaper piece the new editor is going to go and take apart, and writing the book?
No idea.
Cool. Good answers.
I just sat down and just went for it, Malcolm. That was it's a very good question, and I'll probably have a wee think about that as we go on. But it's something totally different. There's no doubt about that. And there's loads of golf books out there, loads of great golf books out there, and there'll be more to come. I just feel that just having been involved in Scottish golf for as long as I have, I think someone said to me, if there was going to be one book you were going to do, it would be this one. And I think that it's nice that you say I probably do have the respect, having been involved for such a long time, which is nice. But something, probably the luckiest guy in the world to have the opportunity to write about golf in Scotland, and write about Scottish golfers. We're all very proud people. We love to see Scottish success. You didn't mention him by name earlier, Malcolm, but you did mention the Scottish Open, the winner, and of course Bob McIntyre. I mean, just absolutely fantastic what he's doing at the moment. Top 15 player in the world, very comfortable looking in top 15 as well, which is fantastic. We've got the likes of Gemma Dryborough, who's doing great, Hannah Darling, Lorna McClyman on the women's side of it. So we have times where we struggle a little bit. We don't sort of maybe have the success that some people think we should have, but when we do have success, I don't think there's a country in the world who celebrate it and enjoy it as much as we do.
Well, I can at least be on your first couple of chapters, Scotland, Golf Scotland's national sport and cradle to grave. So when you're talking about their mix of girls and boys, and I'm a bit old, maybe a bit more old-fashioned, maybe same kind of ways you're on some of these traditions. But I mean, for me, golf's been about everybody and the community spirit you're talking in those couple of chapters, and you've just listed it, new kids coming through, but it's a mix of boys and girls. So I mean, talk a bit about that kind of community spirit that you've found around Scottish golf.
Yeah, I think most golf clubs in Scotland always have that. I think that there's such a focal point in the community, and I mean, obviously, you guys know, you like East Lothian, Gullen, places like that. I mean, it's just you drive into that place and it just reeks of golf in a great way, doesn't it? And it goes back to what we were talking about at the start about me being involved in golf from a young age. I remember spending my summer holidays down at Eyemouth. I would get dropped off at Eyemouth in the morning, and God knows how many holes I played in a day before I got picked up at night. But there was never any worry about. I was never there with an adult. I was there with my mates, and we just played golf. We went down the gullies a lot looking for golf balls. Probably spent a couple of hours down there, but that was part of the fun. I mean, listen. We're in a position just now where a lot of golf clubs are probably on the brink. We had the rise in numbers through COVID. Every golf club probably benefited in terms of membership increases, but inevitably that was going to drop off. And we've already seen the Hirsal in Coldstream, somewhere I played golf as a youngster, a great little golf course out of the blue. It was closed overnight early in the year. Turns Park in Motherwell, maybe not as much a surprise, but it's gone as well. And recently, looks like Care Park in Dundee, the council there are earmarked it for closure. So, the game's at an interesting point at the moment. In terms of the next few years is going to be very, very interesting just to see how many casualties we have. But there's still no doubt that golf clubs are a focal point of the community in Scotland. I think clubhouses maybe not as busy as they were when we played golf as kids. People don't go in as much as they should, which is a shame. But for me, there's no sport like it. You can. Katrina Matthews talked about how she used to go out with her brother and her mum and dad, and still goes now and plays with her mates when she's in North Berwick. And it's that type of thing that there isn't a sport that comes close to golf in that respect.
You talk about the three generations playing together, and Paul Laurie and his kids, and really enjoying that. So, and that's time and time again. And you look at the Gallagher dynasty, and in top level golf. And Roscoe, you read an article that Martin wrote yesterday. Maybe time for you to jump in on that one.
Well, I was going to ask Martin. And you already mentioned about some of those smaller courses in some of the areas that have been challenged. And one of the things for me that's always been so wonderful about visiting Edinburgh before I moved here was the council courses. You're a big supporter of the Braids and that tournament, the Edinburgh Evening News tournament, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Svats Trophy. And my dad grew up playing golf at Craig and Tinney. Now I get the opportunity to play golf with my uncle and my cousins, and they're not traditional golfers, but they play at Craig and Tenney. But my uncle took me to a course which, in all of my years of coming here and talking to people, it never ever got mentioned. You wrote an article about it yesterday, Winterfield. Can you take us through that article and what Winterfield were faced with and what's happening now with that great little patch of land, which still I'm surprised that all the travelling golfers never talk about, but they should.
Yeah, well, Winterfield, obviously, I played as a junior member along the other end of Dunbar at the East Links, but we used to play Winterfield as well in club matches, and it was always a great place to play. And it's got an opening par 3, which, probably the toughest par 3 in the world. Just over this big, very much so. And then the first few holes are a little bit back and forward, and then as the round develops, it just turns into a great golf course and a fantastic setting. Views are up towards North Berwick, etc. The Bass Rock are absolutely stunning. It's a municipal golf course, East Lothian Council, and it was run by a company on the administration side. There was another company involved who were also involved in Musselburgh Old. But the members, obviously, as council cutbacks have been taking place, the members sort of got a little bit concerned about where things were going to maybe go in the next maybe 5-10 years. And they decided that it was time for them to maybe look at taking over the day-to-day running of the club. And they've obviously been in talks with East Lothian Council, and they've now reached an agreement where the members will take over the operation of the golf club from the 1st of April 2025, and they've got a 40-year lease to go forward with. So that really is exciting for them. As I say, at a time where Arcade Park in Dundee looks like it could be closed. Earlier this year, we had Holland Bush in South Lanarkshire and Dalmuir in Clydebank. They were under threat before the council, the respective councils handed them lifelines. So this is a really interesting one going forward, because Winterfield's we all know East Lothian has so many top-class championship golf courses where the majority of people maybe go, but Winterfield is one of those golf courses where visitors go there and get a nice surprise. And I keep hearing, and you guys will know this better than me, but I keep hearing that the top courses now in Scotland have to have a certain price, and quite a high price, because it puts American visitors off if that price is below a certain figure.
I'm not converted to that argument. Mr. Kerr might be converted. I just think what we did with Kilspindie, with Scotland's golf course and Scotland where Golf Began, the videos, and they need caddies now because it's in people's minds. And I think what you do need with these courses is a legitimacy. You need an advocacy, and if that's coming from Scots and visitors, that gets that. I think more importantly, prices at lower end need to go up so they can run the golf clubs. Well, that's been a different discussion, because you need enough money coming through. People are not eating and drinking. The drink driving laws we have in Scotland are not the same in England. So, I know Dunbar got an early license, so some clubs have said we'll have a drink before we play golf because you can walk it off through the round and get on that way. But clubs are struggling on membership for that sort of thing. Very quickly, Dave, what's your view on it has to be expensive?
Again, I think the price elasticity of demand of golf green fees is a really interesting phenomenon. I think, if I'm candid, I think it's the easy thing to do if you're looking to attract more Americans, particularly, is to put the prices up. There's not a lot of effort required. You don't need to market. You don't need to advertise. It's an approach, and it does work. The much more difficult thing to do is to just, as you've kind of touched on there, Malcolm, is make yourself known to that audience, so it's an approach and it works, but is it the right approach if you want it to be sustainable? Probably not the right approach if you want it to be sustainable.
We chat yesterday, Dave, about, and we're going to cover this later on, but we may as well get into it here with the demographics of people coming. So, Martin, one of your chapters, you talk about the numbers of people coming, and I think it's 15% for America with 30% of the spend. And between you and Dave, you'll have more understanding of those particular numbers. And Dave, you maybe want to speak about that, and then Martin come back. But I mean, for me, if you have all your eggs in one basket, that's not maybe the wrong thing for a duck to say anyway. But anyway, it's not a great idea when the foxes come. Similar analogy, but we've had a great Scandinavian following in the east coast of Scotland, maybe going all the way back to when golf started off with Holland and all the rest of it. Who knows? But certainly the Americans come, they spend a lot more money. A lot more domestic people come, but domestic tourism has softened a lot. Visit Scotland, we're giving a nice... Visit Scotland do a great job. The thing I say about Visit Scotland, please, it's not a knock. They do a really good job in a particular way, and maybe we don't understand sometimes. But and maybe it's not what we want them to be doing, but that's what Scotland Golf Began is trying to do. We're trying to fill some of those bits. But the domestic tourism... international tourism is catching up with domestic tourism, but I would say sadly that's because domestic tourism is on the way down. So it's catching up on the way down. It's not catching up. And back to 2019 turnover, but not profit. So the wee clubs are struggling. The big clubs are doing very well. But how do we get more golfers to the wee clubs and the wee hotels and the wee bed and breakfast? Some of the hotels, with my place taken over already, just talked about the other day, done a great job, but a lot of the places are very modern. You could kind of be anywhere. The heart and soul stuff, the old bar, the new beers. Where's the tenants? Where's the best? And this is, what some people will, I found, and most people I talk to play golf, they want tenants, they want best, they want that kind of Scottish experience. But that's not necessarily the way some of the tourism industry is going or being directed. So, Dave, do you want to talk a bit about the spread of people coming, and then Martin, jump back in.
Yeah. Again, I think you've got the statistics in your book, Martin, haven't you, about the 300 million spend on golf in Scotland each year. In terms of numbers, maybe only 30% of those are coming from abroad. As a 15%, there's a 30% from the US maybe, but they're spending 50% of the money, right? So there's a disproportionate spend there, and I think and again, it's something that you spend quite a bit of time on in the book as well, which I think is terrific, is the strength and depth of our offer here in Scotland, right? Everything from those amazing championship, open championship links that people absolutely want to visit and they maybe make it the anchor of their trip, but also those smaller courses. Obviously, mentioned Aberdour where you play. I think Try gets a few mentions in your book. Cullen, these places, which are amazing experiences, but are probably not the reason that someone gets on a jet and flies across to the other side of the world, right?
Some do.
But some do, yeah. But I think it's that strength and depth which we've got that I think every other country in the world where golf is played would be envious of our position there. And I think it's about catering for all of those visitors, and not putting too much pressure on one or other. Whether it's people from the west going to the east to play golf, or people from across the Atlantic coming to play golf. And again, I think you've done a great job here of covering that full gamut. And again, through the conversations you've had, I suppose there's an appreciation, I think, that some courses are going to attract a certain type of visitor, and some courses are going to attract another type of visitor. And I think it's about understanding your market. Is that fair, Martin, from the conversations that you had from contributors for the book?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found interesting over the last few years, I've never really got my head round now, like Castle Stewart, Cabo Highlands, for instance. Well, when they're now opening the second course next year, and then Trump in Aberdeen, and now Mark the Hannes Dunes building second courses. I could never really get my head around why are they needing a second golf course? They're never going to never get enough people. But I never understand through talking to people, it's about the one people who come there and stay for a night and have a spend there. So I get where that's coming from. But I think one of the things in Scotland is that the vast majority of golfers in Scotland have no idea about what's going on in the tourism industry, the golf tourism industry, other than St Andrews is always busy and Carnoustie gets a lot of people. It's that wider market which is so important and as you guys say, it's a great market as well. Although the courses just below those top ones, we've got an outstanding array of golf courses, venues, everything. And it's important that guys like yourself are doing a good job and making sure that they get the publicity and push that they deserve. Because there's no doubt, we don't kid ourselves. We do know that the majority of people, when they come to Scotland for the first time, are going to go to certain places, and they are those high-end places, aren't they? If you're a first-time visitor to Scotland from America or Japan or wherever, you're going to go to certain places, and it makes it difficult for the lesser courses. Of course it does. But I do think in the book I've tried to make sure that we have to celebrate the fact we have these great Open Championship courses because they're fantastic golf courses, no doubt about that. But it's right across the board. We've got some really, really good golf courses, and probably some of the inland ones don't get the credit they deserve, because everyone or most people want to talk about links golf courses, which is understandable.
I think coming back to Malcolm's point as well, though, about the authentic Scottish experiences, those are from the American clients that we predominantly deal with. Those are authentic experiences that will have people coming back the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, and we've got clients who come every year, right? We've got a gentleman who comes on his own from the US, comes every year, carpet bombs an area, plays for 4 or 5 weeks. He played Eyemouth for me last year. Loved it, absolutely loved it. I played all of the courses in East Lothian that year, and I think it. But by having those authentic experiences, you then develop the love affair with the country, and you're much more likely to come back. I think, the worst of luxury tourism in Scotland is someone stays at a 5-star hotel that has no real soul. He gets into a bus, drives to a golf course, plays the golf course, back to the hotel. Next day they do the same. They miss out on so much in terms of encountering and meeting local people, spending time with them, having a pint with your caddy after a round at the Jigger or something if you're playing one of the courses at St Andrews. That's where the real exciting stuff happens on a golf trip, is the stuff outside of the golf,
Yeah, indeed. Obviously Ross asked the question at the start about Winterfield. Winterfield is great. What's happening there, and hopefully, they'll thrive going forward. And for me, definitely a place to play golf. And Malcolm mentioned at the start the Braids. Now the Braids is quirky. It's maybe not be everyone's cup of tea.
There's a lot of goss up there, man. There's a lot of goss. That's all.
I wish they took the Braids too. Anyway,
yeah, that was a great golf course as well. That's where in the Dispatch Trophy, if a match finished level after 18 holes, used to go up number 2. The extra holes are played up number 2, which was great. But listen, if you go up there on a nice afternoon or evening, it's heaven up there. I'm not saying it's the best golf course in Scotland by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly somewhere that people should at least go and spend some time.
Whenever I come away from the Braids, because I can just about see it out my window. Whenever I come away from the Braids, and if you're playing with someone, particularly if you're playing it with someone who's playing it for the first time, the card journey home is then see if someone spent some money on that place. Where could you put it in Scotland's top 100? Like, where could it get to? What is its ceiling? And I'm not knocking what the council do. They maintain all the courses in Edinburgh as well as they possibly can, particularly in times such as these where money's an issue for local councils. But in terms of a resource to get people into golf and introduced to golf and to play golf, it's a great example of what's possible. But that perennial debate is, if you had £20 million to spend, where could you take the Braids? Do you know what I mean? Because it has the bones of an amazing golf course, right? Yeah.
And the Dispatch Trophy, as Malcolm probably knows more than anyone, the Dispatch Trophy is a double foursomes event, and over the closing stretch, it's just incredible what can happen in a match that a team might be thinking we're coasting here, and all of a sudden it turns round and they're standing on that 18th tee with the Graves down the right hand side. Yeah, and the wind coming in off the city. It's there's nothing like it in golf for me. That event, that's for sure.
No, it's the cracking match play course. This gives me a wee chance to a wee kind of advert for Scotland where golf began. So if you are looking to plan a trip coming across www.scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, you'll see lots of little films they've made, 4 or 5 minute films about the golf courses, lots of blogs, lots of articles. If you subscribe to us, you get a newsletter every 2 weeks talking about what's going on in Scotland. And, of course, there are links to all the podcasts. And there's a link to the 1457 Society, which you can join for £49 and come and play golf with us. Now, we talked about different courses and wee, big and inland and links. So, Martin, give us your 3 favourite big inland courses and your 3 favourite wee inland courses.
Inland courses?
Inland, yeah.
Oh, wow. So, inland courses would be, well, the Kings at Gleneagles is definitely one of my favourite golf courses. I used to obviously go to the Bell Scottish Open there. Really just for me, on a nice day, Gleneagles takes a lot of beating. Really, just the scenery round about. Just a fantastic facility. Second big inland, Blair Gowrie. Love Blair Gowrie. Again,
Nothing going on.
Yeah, just such a great facility all round. Great clubhouse. We've got Stuart Wilson, former amateur champion, great ambassador for Scottish golf. He's the manager there now. Stuart's a great lad.
That's what Dave Scott's dad as well. Is that right? Is that what Davy Scott's dad at Blair Gowrie?
I think he might have done. Yeah, he was also at Letham Grange, I remember, I think, for a spell back in the day. And third big inland course, I would up this, well, listen, Loch Lomond. A lot of these, seriously, I mean, you know, when the Scottish Open was played there under various guises, people used to get that chance to go inside those gates one time a year, and it was like Christmas, golfers' Christmas for them. You just go in there, and great golf course. Obviously they had issues with the irrigation, etc., but that was all sorted out, and I dearly hope one day that a tournament goes back there, because really just a magnificent setting and lots of great memories there. Apart for the midges.
My favourite commentary line was Peter Allis, and they're panning around the last couple of players coming up. There's a bit of time, and it pans the loch, and there's 2 boys butt naked in the boat, and they jump in the water, and this quiet. Peter Allis says, "Heads down, bottoms up." He just painted on silent. It's interesting. Ian Stevens really looks at him as how to commentate as one of our kind of people. So, 3 wee courses inland.
Oh, you're now putting me on the spot here, Malcolm.
Tough, isn't it? We get so used to playing links golf. We did a 1457 Society trip up to Cymru, and we're also at Cymru and St Villans. Did the 9 holes in each, which is a great day out.
Yeah. I would have to say one of my favourite courses in Edinburgh is, apart from the Braids, which... well, that could be on my list as well, I suppose.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah.
A little bit. But Duddingston is a great golf course. I think absolutely. Really, really good test of golf. Gets really quite sort of demanding on that back 9 when you go up around the Temple, I think it's called up there, isn't it? It's a really, really good golf course. Listen, Botegarten, 100%. What a place that is to play golf. Unbelievable. And again, get the right weather conditions, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some great inland golf in Scotland, which you talk about in the book, and it's again things we need to push more. I mean, links golf is what people come for very often, but making them understand the wee courses round about, and all those built for hickory, which you talk about later. So I mean, all of them with long traditions. So chapter Where Golf Began, which I love that title. Should have been Scotland Where Golf Began. We should have spoken and given you the whole title. It could be a big advert for what we're doing. Anyway, you talk about the long game and the short game and shinty. Can you expand a wee bit on that?
Well, it was more of David Hamilton, obviously, was the guy I spoke to. And that's what I liked about that chapter. And I'm going to probably fudge this question a little bit. But obviously the history, most people know the history of Scottish golf. And I didn't want to sort of this to be just a repetition of the history of the game. And I spoke to, obviously, Roger McStravick, who's based in St Andrews. And I found that quite interesting to get the perspective of not a golf historian living in St Andrews writing about history of golf. Absolutely fantastic, and he's come up with some great books, and he put me in touch with David Hamilton, and it was just good to get. And again, I mean, as much as though golf's been part of my life, I found it quite interesting learning stuff from these guys. The big like you guys are, you know your stuff, and I'm actually feeling a wee bit embarrassed that I haven't included you guys in my book, because you guys do a good job in terms of trying to promote those lesser courses that are important. David Hamilton was great. I mean, a very, very knowledgeable guy, and had the time to delve into the history of the game. And obviously shinty at the moment in Scotland is getting a bit of a boost with Bob McIntyre. Bob's a big shinty player himself, and very different game to golf in many ways. Certainly, well, it's not as there can't be many golf courses where it's quite as physical as it is in a shinty pitch. I would have thought maybe now in a game, but I just found it interesting. Getting in touch with these guys and using them to tell the story about how the game has developed, rather than it being the history with dates, etc. Yeah, I've included those in, but just I thought it was nice to use other people to try and get that historical side over and make it sort of chatty, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
So after you bought Martin's book, Roger McStravick's done a great job in writing in Scotland. You should look for it, listeners should look for his books as well, but it's only after you bought Martin's. You going back in there, you got the Fishwives. I mean, Scotland's golf's been for everybody, and you've got the Fishwives of Musselburgh, one of the oldest competitions going. And I think Martin Slums and R&A have done quite a good idea in the pushback against some of the men's clubs. But for me, I don't want to talk about this too long because people get bored by it. Gone too far. I think we need to go back to letting the clubs get on with what they are and get tournaments back round clubs, because golf in Scotland has been for everybody. It's not the same as everybody else. And they say women have been playing for ages then. And you talk about old Tom, very much a supporter of women's golf. 3 clubs in St Andrews are all girls' clubs. But you talk about John Rattery, who was the captain of the Leith Rules Society, and that was about the time the rules were written. But what a lot of people don't know about Dr. John Rattery, he was one of 3 surgeons that worked for Bonnie Prince Charlie. So the 3 doctors of Bonnie Prince Charlie, and after the 45 rebellion, he got caught and he was banged up in the Tower of London and going to be executed. So the Honourable Company, as now the Society of Leith Rules Golf are, his foursomes partner was very upset. He was going to lose his foursomes partner and again executed. So he interceded and he was released and allowed back up to Edinburgh to continue. So golf has always had its fingers in many pies, and that's one of the...
Great story, that one, Mark. I didn't know that one myself. I love that story.
Yeah, that's David Purdy. You probably know Professor David Purdy.
Yeah.
It's funny how all the, golf is so woven into this history and society of Scotland. And again, you talk there, not society at the top end, but you talk there about the 1700s and the humble golfer. So you had the gentleman who bet on the caddies, and the caddies playing the golf. So everybody was playing golf up and down. And again, you touch on the fact that Scotland was very much a winter game because summer was for agriculture. And then I've always wondered whether the expansion of golf was partly to do with the gutty ball, so you could faster, but also I'm guessing, I don't know if you know much about with the engine. So you had the train and the lawnmower, so you could cut the grass and you could travel.
No, but that's I don't know that one. No, sorry.
No, I don't know. I mean, you need to look at it. I mean, they all came at the same time, so I guess they all began to coincide at that point.
But you imagine someone actually coming up with this book that was like everything about it. I mean, I've tried to do my best from what I know and talk to people, but you imagine someone that could talk to people like yourself, your David Purdy's and all that. It would be some book if someone could sit down and get all these tales.
You've got a lot of spare time on your hands now, Malcolm, haven't you? Come on.
Well, it's kind of what we're trying to do with the podcast and get different people coming on with it. Yeah, we'll say who we're getting on later on in case things don't quite work out. But I mean, this is about getting guys like you who know the game and writing about one or two players who played it kind of, a different level. But it's also about the Pam Allen girl that joined the 1457 Society. I'm going to have Pam on later on. She came across last year, stayed for 3 months, played 120 courses. And there's someone talking about that journey, how you found the experience, and all the rest of it is good. And then you got courses selection second to none. Covered a bit of that, Dave. Do you want to talk a wee bit about hidden gems or bits and bobs? Or
no, I think we've covered a bit of this, I suppose, haven't we? It was good to hear your three inland smaller courses, certainly, Martin. I think there's a good range there. Again, I guess the term hidden gem is kind of overused, maybe, but again, we've talked about the kind of broad range of courses that we've got in Scotland. We've spoken about some of your favourites, but one of the things that I think you ask some of your contributors in the book is, and I think particularly the pros stuck in my mind, is there a bucket list of courses in Scotland that they hadn't played but they want to, and some great ideas about going up north. And I think Chippy mentions, Paul Laurie mentions going to Durness. He went without his clubs and so he's going to go back. Are there courses in Scotland, Martin, that you've not had the opportunity to play yet that maybe are on your list that you would like to get to one day?
Absolutely loads. Can assure you, absolutely loads. And once I sort of get over the finishing line in terms of my career, I'm not going to wish my career away, but I think hopefully the finishing line is getting in sight. I will play a lot more golf. I mean, I've got the three boys I play with at Aberdour, they're all retired now, and they play way more golf than I do, and are way better than me because of that as well. But yeah, I've got so many. I mean, I find this really sort of hard to admit that a year ago I did a piece for the Scotsman, and I think it was 5 courses to play in 2024, and they included Anstruther, Panmure, Brora, Macrae, and I think Southerness. I think they were the 5.
That's a great range of courses there.
Didn't they get round to playing any of them? Seriously, it's shocking to say that. I was close to going to Anstruther one day. I had the time booked. I was going up, and then it was a howling gale. And the guy said, "Listen, you wouldn't really appreciate coming up here on this day," and just never got right. And I honestly find that really embarrassing to say. I never found, and I will. So I'm probably going to be writing about the 5 I want to play in 2025. So I'm going to have 10 courses to play next year. And it's just, I mean, no, it is down to being busy. I mean, I'm wholehearted in the job I do. I'm not going to do it half-hearted. So, and obviously got a family life as well. But nothing beats getting out a golf course for me. So as long as I'm around and I'm able, I will one day get round to playing all these great golf courses. And please feel free to suggest a few to me as well.
Oh, there's loads of those. So just while we're on it then, just going back to Eyemouth. So you've got there's some great photography in your book. I think it's probably fair to call Eyemouth an underappreciated golf course, right? So on the hidden gem list, I would say probably. But you got some terrific photography in your book, and one of the pictures in particular that caught me was of that 6th hole. So for those that have not had the opportunity to play yet, just describe the 6th hole at Eyemouth, and maybe one time maybe you've had a wee birdie there. Maybe talk us through how that worked out for you, how that happened.
I can't do the latter, unfortunately. The interesting thing about that hole is when it was a 9-hole course, the hole played the totally opposite direction, and it was a par 4. It was a dogleg par 4, but you could cut the corner. You could go across the gully. Or the sort of good players, they used to sort of go for the green. So and straight over the corner, that was achievable for them. But then the course became an 18-hole golf course. Now, I always laugh about when it was a 9-hole course, the opening hole at Eyemouth was a par 4, and again a dogleg. But the dogleg was over a football pitch. So on a Saturday, there was a football match taking place, and these people were hitting golf balls across this dogleg over the football pitch. It was health and safety going mad. I mean,
I love them.
It's not health and safety gone, man. It's called practicality and things which none will could learn from, says the bar.
And it was, honestly, it was great. But so this now the 6th hole, and it got was it the UK's most extraordinary golf hole or something like that? I think it was a few years back, and it's just a really, really good golf hole. This deep gully in front of you that comes from the front of the tee over to the front of the green, and just a great challenge. But I think there's probably a dozen courses around Scotland got similar holes. We all know these lovely picturesque par 3s that are over. I mean, what one is it? King's Barnes is 15th at King's Barnes is an absolutely fantastic golf hole. Aberdour, we've got a couple of short holes at Aberdour. It starts with 2 par 3s, which are absolutely stunning golf holes. But yeah, Eyemouth for me is a play, and it's interesting that I talked earlier about the Hirsel closing, and that was a real shock to a lot of people. When I grew up in the Borders, all these golf courses were 9-holers: Eyemouth, Duns, the Hirsel, and they all became 18-hole golf courses. And at the time, no one blinked an eyelid. But gradually, you actually now think, would a couple of these been better to have stayed 9-holers, just the way things have turned out? And is that the case round a few places in Scotland?
I'd quite admire the obstinacy of the people of Arran who've decided that Shiskin's 12 holes and that is it. And it's never going to be any different. It's not going to be 9 and it's not going to be 18. It's just going to be 12. And I think that's wonderfully quirky and really speaks to the people of Blackwaterfoot, to be honest.
Is that you, Dalton? Wonderfully quirky and spoke to lots of people. I'm just going to move us on a little bit. I'm just conscious of time. I'm really enjoying this. Could do this all day. We're trying to keep things just about under an hour. We've got a wee bit of time left. We can't really miss talking about the great golfers that Scotland's produced. Celebrating Scotland's success. Rawson, if you talk about this, or Martin, go straight into it, and then we'll ask you some questions. I mean, you've covered some legendary golfers coming out of Scotland.
Martin, I was going to ask you that, and I grew up in Australia, and for every Scottish sport moment, golf and football and rugby, I was plonked fairly and squarely in front of the TV, and watch that. I got sent all the strips. I had all the pictures, all the records and albums and all that. That was my upbringing. So I'm fairly, passionate about the Scottish sporting moments and everything. Even my dad would come out and say, and remind my friends, see that song, AC/DC? No Australian, it's Scottish. So things like that. But, talking about your journalistic career, what are some of those moments that you really cherish from a Scottish golf perspective that you were part of over those? There are probably too many to ask, but what are a couple, and are there any stories attached to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, how long have we got?
It's probably another podcast, but you're right. But
yeah, I know. But something, Paul Laurie, Carnoustie, 1999, absolutely incredible. Just the way he did it. The 4-iron into 18.
He doesn't get enough praise for that. He doesn't. I covered Paul from when he was an assistant pro at Bankery, and the Tartan Tour back then had a really strong assistant circuit in addition to the main Tartan Pro Tour. Tartan Tour, and Paul, I would never say Paul was going to be
an Open champion, a major winner, or a Ryder Cup player back then. But Paul Lawrie was a winner. Paul Lawrie knew how to win from an early age, and that mentality was just massive for him. I think probably over the years, there's a couple of players that, in my opinion, were more sort of naturally talented golfers, but they got on, and won't mention names, they got on the European Tour, DP World Tour, and just couldn't handle playing golf for a living. And they now are doing different careers in golf. But just that winning mentality was something that Paul's had that all through his life. And you mentioned earlier, Malcolm, about playing golf with his boys. Well, he plays golf with his boys, but he plays to try and beat them. There's no doubt about that. There's no way Paul Lawrie is going to accept just giving one of his sons a wee boost, but you can beat me today. Not a chance. And that's a great mentality to have. Obviously, Monty gave us some great times over the years. And when you think of his order of merit, 7 in a row is phenomenal. I know Rory's on a run just now, but for Monty to do it at a time, when you think of the players he was up against, was just absolutely phenomenal. I remember sitting at the back of the green at Oakland Hills Ryder Cup in 2004 when Monty clinched victory, or there's a dispute about who clinched victory. Was it him or someone else on the course? But I remember sitting there and he raised his arms. That was a fantastic thrill. Lots of guys. I mean, Stephen Gallagher, fantastic. I've known him all as a golfer through his life, and really, really great ambassador for Scottish golf. And all the youngsters now, Bob, Ewan Ferguson, Grant Forrest, Connor Syme, all these lads. But someone I'm going to really mention here, and you say someone is underestimated, Malcolm, Katrina Matthew. I mean, oh my God, when you think what she's achieved in the game, and if it had been in probably any other country in the world, she'd have got way more credit than she ever has, because as a player, first and foremost, to do what she did was phenomenal. And then now as a captain, 2 Solheim Cup wins, 1 Curtis Cup win at Sunningdale this year, which was, for me, one of the best events in 2024, and she's just been reappointed. She has done so much for Scottish golf, and probably be given half of the recognition that she deserves.
I was with her and Graham at one thing, and people came up to be introduced to her. I said, this is Graham, and this is his wife, Katrina. And it was just so discombobulated. People, it was hilarious, because he's a great guy as well. And you talk about, you look about the Solheim Cup and Susanna Patterson being selected. I mean, that was a very, very brave pick. But I remember Katrina spending hours on the range at Renaissance in the Scottish Women's Open, watching her, and chatting to Dame Laura Davis, and the work they put into that was a very thought out pick, and what a brilliant call that was. Roscoe,
Russ.
Oh, you got
when she was appointed captain, I wasn't 100% sure, because she's very quiet. She's very unassuming, and I was thinking, is this something that she's going to be good at? But she's very good at it. I mean, the respect she has in a team room, and I think she knows when to say something, really, 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 very, very proud of where she lives in North Berwick, and there's no doubt every single women golfer that's come through the ranks in Scotland the last 20 years, there's only one person they look up to, and rightly so.
Martin, I was going to say the Solheim Cup at Glen Eagles, I can't remember exactly the year, several years ago, was the first time they'd ever spied you in real life, all 6'6" of you. And, it makes me think about, and then now having experienced a little bit of behind the ropes action, with the camera at the Open this year, the AIG Women's, the Dunhill, and so on and so forth. I got to see you again before I met you today, and from a bird's eye perspective, watch you at work. And I think a lot of people are intrigued about journalists. They think that this magic just happens in stories and story writing, and you turn up to a tournament. I got to see a little bit of inside the media center and all that sort of thing. Can you tell us how you follow these storylines, how you decide on writing an article? and how it all plays out during a day and the week more so. It's not a day, the week of an Open or any tournament for that fact.
Well, the week at the Open, I didn't get much sleep, that's for sure. Because when that's great. I mean, and same with the Scottish Open. Malcolm maybe testify that I'm probably the first in the media centre every day and then the last out. But that to me is just listen to that event now. What an event that is. I know it actually annoys me that the people. Well, we'll come back to your question in a minute, Ross, but it annoys me that people criticise, why is the Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club? Well, something, it's a far better golf course than people give it credit for. The players love the fact that they can stay on site with some of the best practice facilities in Scotland and playing a big event there and then preparing for the Open at the same time. There's a lot of things that go into these events that your man on the street don't sort of appreciate or want to appreciate. So, but yeah, I mean, every day is different, Ross, in terms of when you walk into the media centre, you're not sure what you're going to be writing about. I think things have changed slightly. I think no, it's all down to clicks now in terms of people. No, you want people to read your story. So, and there's certain names allow you to get more clicks in terms of people having an interest in that. But at the same time, I know that I can write a story about, I say a Scottish amateur golfer or someone at the lesser level, and you've got interest in that, and that's what really. I know some of my colleagues will maybe only write about Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods, something like that. I'll write about them and enjoy writing about them, but I love writing about 50 other people during the year, if not more, and clubs, etc. Ask for what the story is going to be. Sometimes it jumps out at you. Somebody says something that I mean, Monty was a great quotes machine. Monty came out with something one day and then contradicted himself the other day sometimes, but he was great. He came out with something that you knew was going to be a headline. Bob McIntyre's really a heart on the sleeve guy and comes out with some really good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's why I love the job. I mean, Malcolm said in my introduction here earlier, I was editor of Bunker as well for a spell between 2003 and 2009. And I loved that at the time, but nothing for me beats actually writing about golf and speaking to people. And that's a great thing about something like the Dispatch Trophy. You're talking to club golfers and trying to get a little story out of them, and some will come out with just this little nugget of information that makes it a nice human interest story. So really, really, honestly, I am such a lucky guy to have the job I've got. Our job's got tougher, lots of cutbacks, etc. But I've managed to sort of come up with ways to still allow me to be at events, through sponsorships, etc. And as long as I can do that, I'll still enjoy the job and I'm meeting lots of people. And you three guys today just sort of typify what I'm trying to say. It's just so nice to talk to you guys because you know your stuff and just a sort of different. You guys are doing as good a job as me as I do, hopefully, in terms of getting the message out there to people about Scottish golf and that breadth, the courses and everything about the game here.
Well, Martin, we're lucky to have you as well. So I really enjoy reading your stuff. And there's Roscoe just come across and picked up the article straight away about someone that we care for. Scotland's clubhouses. Quite quickly on this, we talked a bit about them. They're kind of walking museums. But I love I played golf for David Roy at Becrail and Stuart from North Berwick and Eric Anders Lang, and he was telling us he written in the Constitution in his job description is drinking with the members, which I think is partly why he took the job. So I think, and David's another great guy with a massive passion for history and all the rest. But what I really enjoyed, but I didn't know, was that the Lindsay Medal up there was the first an Open played 30 years prior to the Open at Prestwick. So I'll be giving I know Mr. Goodwin's retired, but I'll still like giving Mr. Goodwin, ex of Prestwick, a hard time about that kind of stuff now as well. But then having an outsider, Alan Robertson, win it, they closed it back to just the members because we couldn't have outsiders winning our tournament.
Great story, wasn't it? I love that. But yeah, I mean, no, you know these guys, your David Roy's, etc. No, they're doing a job up there. But to have someone like that's so passionate about the game as well, it's. I'm sure any visitor who walks in there and comes across David, they're going to go away feeling very, very happy about not just being out on that golf course, but the whole experience, and that's so important, isn't it? Really, I know lots of clubs don't have the people on site, etc. But yeah, I think the golf courses are what people come for. But if you get people going away and saying, listen, I bumped into that guy, and as Dave said earlier, you go to the pub with a caddy, etc. Absolutely phenomenal. And like a guy that's quoted in the book is Nick Robertson, who's one of the caddies at St Andrews. He's the dad of Graham Robertson, a young Scottish lad, who's doing well at the moment, and his passion for doing that job is great. And I must admit, the numbers that are involved in caddying across Scotland is something that's obviously increased. But these guys do a great job. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, on Dave Roy, big guy to Jerry Savadi as well for the work he's bulldozed getting Renaissance from A to B. But going back to the caddies, and you've got a chapter, Scotland's greenkeepers and caddies, and they... The caddies we'll talk about on the podcast. We go through and maybe get a couple on the podcast. But the greenkeepers, I mean, the work they do day in, day out. We're not going to play golf today. It's a howling gale, but they're out there fixing the bunkers, doing their work.
Yeah, and I know, Aberdeen, where I play now. I mean, the guys there, I've got so much appreciation, and one of the things which does annoy me a little bit these days is that I don't think the etiquette on the golf course and the way some people should be looking after their golf course isn't as good as it used to be. I'm not just saying Aberdeen. I think courses you go to, basic things like pitch marks and stuff like that. We were brought up as soon as we started playing the game to repair pitch marks and stuff like that. I think for the work these guys put in, they deserve a little bit more sort of support at times from members and visitors. But again, go back to, is it not society that's changed a bit that's not helping in that respect? So, but yeah, fantastic job these guys do, and we all know Scottish greenkeepers are held in high regard around the world. Hence why some of the top courses in the world have Scottish greenkeepers at the helm.
So, last chapter's golf in Scotland, a glorious future. I'm not going to delve into that chapter too much, but the we talked about the game for everyone. It's open for all. It's inclusiveness, dogs on golf courses, aspiring players, tourism working together, the Muirfields, the Scottish Opens, all that kind of stuff. Martin, you've covered it all, and maybe with a bit of luck, we'll get you back to talk a bit more, because I feel we could talk for another 7 hours on this. It's kind of that's the kind of the banter. We didn't really talk about banter about golf, and banter is what golf's about.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, I must admit. As I say, there was a bit chapters in the book that I felt I learned a lot about what's going on in the game, even though I'm close to it, and just talking to guys like yourself, knowing what you guys are now doing, and getting that message out there is so important as well. But I think one of the things in Scotland is that the majority of club members, they're only interested in their game on a Saturday or during the week. That's something is that a good thing? Could be in some respects that is important to them, but I sometimes really get surprised sometimes when you talk to you just bump into someone and they haven't got a clue what's going on in the wider sense of golf or Scottish golf sometimes, which does worry me a wee bit. But in the main, everyone who's involved in Scottish golf, and I know a lot of organisations get stick at certain times, but we should be proud of what we provide from a golfing perspective, and I know from covering the game for 30 odd years that the Scottish lads and Scottish women around the tours are held with great respect, the way they handle themselves, and that's credit to them.
Well, listeners, if you're planning a trip or if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're planning a trip, remember to go to visit scotlandwheregolfbegan.com. You'll find the wee videos and stories, the blogs, and a lot of information there. You'll also see our tour operator section where you'll pick up some tour operator if you want some planning and help on that. And you'll also see the 1457 Society, which you can come and join and come and play with us and partake in some of the banter and the WhatsApp chats and all the rest of it. Massive thank you again, Martin. Absolutely massive thank you. I think the boys have enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Boys and girls, go buy the book. It's available online and in all good bookshops. It's The Art of Scottish Golf, Where It All Began. Just missing a wee Scotland out there. And as I say, you and your cohort, Mr. Donnelly, managed to make me read 2 books for the first time in about 30 years. So my dad would be very, very happy with you getting his dyslexic up reading a non-work book. Been fantastic having you. You'll find Martin on social media, Instagram, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin@Martin.Dempster. On Twitter, which I think you're mostly...
At Dempster Martin, I think it is. At Dempster Martin, I think it's the Twitter one, isn't it?
And Facebook is at Martin Dempster. Correct. A big thank you to co-pilots Ross Flanagan and Dave Kerr. My name's Malcolm Duck. This was the 1457 Society. Wrong. This was the 1450. I always say the 1457 Society. You can edit that out or not. The Society, come and join. The podcast, this was the 1457 podcast. Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you, co-pilots. Good night, good morning, good evening, and we'll see you all next time.